I f with Rick Rubin.
His book is really good.
Is that the one you were telling me about?
Yeah, you should read it. It's called The Creative Act, A Way of Being. Guzman
Yeah,
just finished
Guzman.
it. Guzman, hop on here. Give your opinion.
Yeah.
I hate Ben. Ben is the worst. Don't even listen to anything he says. He's a phony. He forgot about the name of the book that he's been talking about for the last 3 months.
Such
he
a fake.
sucks.
He's fake, right?
I got it out of my chest now.
Okay, good. Oh, that was it. Okay.
Don't make music. Don't make music for the audience.
He looks
Make
like a
music for
guru
yourself.
now.
Well, it's because he is, bro.
Yeah.
Dude knows what's up. Dude, if you could get paid that much money to sit on a couch and tell somebody, yeah, that's a vibe, I would do it. You kidding me? And you're in Malibu or Costa Rica or wherever the
I think like Ben's exact words to me the first time I mentioned Taylor Swift was like, I hate her. I think she sucks. And
That's like spot on.
That's
of
not
every,
what I said.
Actually,
I respect Taylor Swift. Like, my parents had like a bunch of money and were able to fund my career to start.
this is the opposite way I thought it was going to go in terms of talking about Taylor Swift.
so what did we do? What just happened?
He deleted files.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You're done for. What's the boss gonna say?
Well, I mean,
Billy's the boss on that one.
well, at least you're lucky they didn't pay for it, so it's okay.
True.
Because if they paid for it, they'd be pissed.
Yeah, I just paid for the hour of you to film it. And then delete it. All right.
I can't.
Love is the highest of all virtues. Remember that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's what it says.
All right. We have a guest today.
Have you watched the podcast?
All of them from start to finish.
You see what
That's
they
a
look
lie.
like.
Like a fat lie.
That's a lie.
Have you watched one?
I've watched the teasers on Kenny's fucking Instagram and it looks fire.
Yep. You know where you haven't watched them?
On YouTube.
Instagram.
You'll never ever see them on Pets.
All right. Elaine Rojas, you got a record coming out August 4th.
I do.
Exciting.
Two singles.
2 singles. What are the songs?
They're called I Want Your Hands and Writing to Home.
Nice.
Very exciting.
And what are they about?
So one of them is like an R&B pop thing that's the sexy one. And the other one that like whenever people ask me about it, I'm like, I can't really give you anything in terms of there being something poetic about it. It's a feel-good song.
It's a straight hump song.
Pretty much. We'll skip.
Feel good?
We'll skip past this in the editing, but
Probably not.
the other one
Be
is
like, I don't want to edit.
yeah. Oh
I'm
man.
just going to erase this.
yeah.
No, the other one is a little bit more personal. Writing to Home is a song I wrote when I was in a very not good place in life, and we've all had those sort of emotional bottoms, and it was basically like a song I started writing to my dad, and then a couple years later I finished it, and it felt like the second half of it was more a song dedicated more to like God or higher power. So Father takes on 2 meanings there.
Cool.
Yeah, so it's called Writing to Home, and it's actually like the title of the whole project that I continue to, or I have a plan to continue to add to. So yeah, that's like a super stripped back song too. It's just piano and vocal, and we did that intentionally for
Is
it to.
Sorry. Is it weird to ask if you have a favorite out of the two?
No, I mean, like I said, there are 2 different writing styles. They come from 2 completely different places. Like Writing to Home was a very intentional, cathartic experience, whereas I Want Your Hands is, I think, a cool melody I came up with.
Like Ben, like for instance, Ben, it's all strokes, like strokes. Everything's the same.
Right.
With your stuff,
There's
a
like
little bit of
there's like character and like
to everything. Has
musicianship and like yeah.
With Evan, it's all
it's all the key of C.
it's all in the key of C, and it's 4 chords, and it's a loop, and it never changes.
And it's sevenths, right?
Yeah, you like 7 chords. Well, actually, Ben likes 7 chords too.
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, he's
anymore.
over it.
I'm past that shit.
That was,
Strokes
that was
aren't
in the
doing that
Murphy
anymore.
era of
No.
similar kind.
No more chorus, no more chords, just notes.
Did you leave the chorus in the Murphy era?
Yeah, I left it.
Really?
I haven't used it since.
Wow.
There's no choruses.
So the Murphy era, you know, like
Yeah.
The Murphy era.
Guns N' Roses, I don't know, bands that are like, there's like musicians that leave, and
Right.
that's the era. So I'm gonna be the Murphy era. We're gonna do. Guzman's working on some T-shirts.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna release.
So basically, you're the person in like 50 years who comes back and like tries to be in the band when it's
Yeah, but
split
he's gonna
up
try
and
to
like
come back for the money when we're at the top.
Yeah,
They're gonna
exactly.
be
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
gonna
Oh,
work.
they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I actually want to join the band. No,
Yeah, you'll be
you know,
British.
Like the Eagles.
Perfect.
Do I know the Eagles?
That's
Yeah, you're the Eagles.
I'm the Eagle.
Yeah. You look like the bald eagle, so it's all good.
Yeah.
But very exciting.
Well, yeah, speaking of Ben, it's very rare that we bring someone on the show that has the same exact writing influences of Taylor Swift and John Mayer that Ben has.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's very rare that we find another person
Yeah.
with the
I
Deep
love
same
Taylor
influences.
Swift.
Yeah, that's actually like the first thing Ben
I'm
and
in my red era.
forever and always. No, that's the first thing Ben and I like really got down with was Taylor Swift and John Mayer.
Yeah, my favorite.
But I think like Ben's exact words to me the first time I mentioned Taylor Swift was like, I fucking hate her. I think she sucks. And
That's like spot on.
That's
of
not
every,
what I said.
Actually, every musician I've ever
No.
sent him, hey, check this
Yeah.
out.
yeah.
every song you ever sent them to.
Like, hey, check this idea I have out for a song. Send it over. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. I don't like it.
I've never said that.
Yeah.
Okay. I respect Taylor Swift. Okay.
You do?
Yeah, I've said that before.
Yeah,
You said that like a million times. I won't listen to it. But
Okay.
I respect her.
But so
as a-
that's so different from the conversation we
my
had
God.
before. Because that was the moral of my story was like, I'm not like a diehard Taylor Swift fan. I think she's actually a really great songwriter. But I have a lot of respect for her. And I feel like any musician that's like, nah, no Taylor Swift, I'm like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's not based
He's
in...
grown up a lot in the last few months.
You know, I mean, I respect Taylor Swift. Like my parents had like a bunch of money and were able to fund my career to start. You know,
This is the opposite way I thought it was going to go in terms of talking about Taylor
Brutal, I know.
Swift.
No, I do respect her for real though. Like recently when she did like the whole concert thing and it rained and she had to wait 3 hours and then came back out and it still rained and then she performed. I respect that a lot. I think that's really cool. She cares about her fans. I think that's dope.
She definitely does.
But
She definitely-
John Mayer.
he's a good guitar player.
but he doesn't even claim
No.
Connecticut.
No.
He won't even talk about
Does
it.
he not?
No, he doesn't.
You were totally singing a different tune today because the last time we had this conversation, you were like, I hate Taylor Swift and John Mayer's a sellout.
Never
and
said that I agree. I think they definitely are.
sellouts?
Yeah.
Well, I think both of them make a style of music that, like Taylor Swift, respect to her, she definitely is not, in my opinion, writing songs for me, and that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
You know?
Who's she writing songs for?
Little girls.
Little girls,
Like
let's be specific.
Like 10 years old all the way up till like
I'm not
obviously
gonna
the,
name any
the
names.
diehard fans who've been fans of her since they were 10 are still gonna like her stuff. But I don't know, majority of it is kind of like a teenager kind of demographic. There's some stuff there. I think like her last like 3 albums ago might be a little bit more for a little bit more grown up stuff. But I think with her re-releasing all the old stuff, it seems more like
Is there a time to sell out? What's the time? Is there a time in
and
his career?
selling out
Paying
is
my
not
mortgage, yeah.
selling out is not a bad thing. I'm not, it's not a bad thing. Like every band does.
So
it.
when do you sell out?
Well, what is selling out? I mean, that's
So,
first and foremost.
Like look at like a Green Day, for example. People thought they sold out when they had Good Riddance was on Friends. Everybody's like, you sold out. You're no longer a part of this scene that you were brought up in, where like they were part of the punk rock scene. Then they had the song on Friends, and then they kind of blew up, and then were like playing like stadium shows. That's
Friends, the
selling out.
TV show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What song?
It was like
on
one of the
Friends?
last.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road.
What, that
It's
was
at
in like
the-
an episode?
It's in the last episode of Friends. It's the final
Is
song.
it really? How
Yeah.
did I miss that?
Yeah,
I'm like
it's
a diehard
the
Friends
final
fan.
song, and it was a whole thing with them. It was like,
Are you?
like they knew that they were selling out by giving the song to like that
To
team.
Chandler.
Yeah, they knew.
To Chandler.
Like,
So did John Mayer and Taylor Swift sell out though? Because they've been kind of catering to the same audience since the beginning, would you say? Like, I feel like
I mean, there's probably, if you look at both of their careers, there's probably a point where they made the jump. That jump where you have to make a decision. Like, are you going to stay in the same spot, or are you going to do something that's going to put your career in the next position?
Will
so she went from like country, you're saying, to
Yeah,
like
to
pop.
pop.
Okay.
Will Similar Kind ever sell out?
If you're going to offer
And
me
what
$1
is
million,
what is the
I'm there.
sellout? What does selling out for Similar Kind look like?
I don't know.
It would be like Nobody Loves You on a McDonald's.
Commercial.
Yeah.
That would be kind of epic.
Yeah, but Your lead singer is vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
She'll be not vegan if it's $1 million.
Well, I guess they do offer like vegan meals, right?
Yeah.
yeah, but
So maybe if it was like
fucked.
Omaha Steaks.
No, that doesn't matter. What the way that they're feeding the whole industry, animal byproduct industry, like you'd be selling out if you wanted McDonald's, 100%.
Yeah, well, I would do it.
I don't know that like
It's not a
Green
bad
Day
thing.
putting their song on Friends is selling out.
It's selling out in a way that you're like rejecting kind of what you came up from.
Their
It's like-
original demographic switched.
Yeah, they
but I
didn't-
think it would have had to switch
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Like I think that's
if you want to be a big artist, you're gonna have to sell out at some point. Like you're gonna like then that's not mean like that's a bad thing. It could be it's a good thing because you're gonna do better like for your career, but you're gonna make a decision where like you're no longer gonna play like if you're a band and you start in basements, you're not gonna go back to the basement.
so you're already sold out.
Whatever, a little
I
bit.
still work in a basement.
But you got to make a decision at some point in your career to be like, I'm going to make the jump, and it might mean alienating some of your old audience.
Yeah.
I define selling out more as choosing money over like your artistic instinct. You know what I mean?
It could be
Like
that
if I
way,
was
too.
Green Day, like, and they believed in that record, right? And it just so happens like, yeah, I'll let it be on Friends. Give me the check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I believed in the record. Give me the
Yeah.
check.
But
But
I guess selling out would be determined by the person, like not them. It would be determined by like your audience. Did you sell out on them? You know what I mean? That's where I think it comes from. Because then it's not
Sure.
them. They can make whatever decision they want. It's up to your audience to just like kind of be like, well, I don't want to follow them anymore because they did this thing that I don't agree with.
in the same vein, though, if you let like your success be deemed by what the audience likes, that's where you run into an artist not being able to evolve because
Yeah.
your fan
Well,
base
definitely.
likes what your last album
Well,
was.
that's what I was saying. You're going to make a decision whether or not you're okay with doing that because
Right.
you're going to, no matter what you choose, someone's going to not like what you do.
Right.
So it's like either you're going to make the decision to get more money and be like, all right, all these people who helped us get here might not like that we're doing that.
How are you going to sell out?
Honestly, I feel like that's where the shift happened for me. And I get a lot of students that are like, I want to be famous. I'm 17 and I want to be famous, right? And that's what I wanted to. And I think the shift happened for me where I realized there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to sacrifice my moral integrity and abandon my ethics in order to make a business decision. And I don't know that fame is worth that for me because it's not once. Once you do it, you know, you're going to be doing it.
So what do you think about a person like Cardi B, right? And yeah, like, and I'm not saying this like in any type of leading question wise, right?
Yeah.
So she was a stripper, right? And she
Shout out
obviously-
to her. Got her
No,
money.
she did a lot.
Yeah, she used to.
You gotta
Stuff
do
up
what
in
you gotta do.
Bridgeport.
Yeah.
Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
I heard some crazy stuff about her that she was like drugging people.
Well, she admitted
and
to
stealing
that.
their money.
She admitted to it.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I did not know
Yeah,
that.
she was
Yeah.
like drugging people and taking their money to like live.
Well, she definitely did what she had to do to get where she's at.
She's a business lady. She's a businesswoman.
Businesswoman. I'm going to start doing that.
Hey, I mean, she was. She had business. Yeah. she had business on her mind.
Yeah, I don't know
Definitely.
about that.
Anyway,
so did
continue.
Madonna. So did Madonna. I think.
Yeah.
So did probably Lady Gaga.
Right.
A lot of these big female artists, and not saying it's fair or whatever. Although I think some guys have to do some morally corrupt things as well. It just might not be as sexualized, maybe,
Yeah.
to get to the top as
Right.
well. I feel like. But so yeah, obviously we're talking about fame and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
if you have a student, right? It's like, right? You're supposed to teach them.
Yeah.
Right? You're supposed to teach them, okay, this is your dream, right? Here's the moral conundrum. These big artists that you like, they either came from money, possibly, or they went and did the extreme to get where they're at to be these big artists.
Yeah.
Right.
And what do you guide them to do? Well, I'm not saying you have to even know the answer, but like
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I feel like if somebody comes to you, like, I don't know, musician, they're like, I want to be famous. If the music isn't the thing that they're like doing because is like the thing that's going to drive them, they just want to be famous. I think that's
Well, famous is different. But you could be a musician and want to be famous.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that's
No,
some
but
people's
yeah.
success
Yeah.
barometer.
I agree with that. I just see what I'm saying is like if a student came to you and they said like I want to be famous, but it really doesn't have anything to do with like the music aspect of it. It's just like, I want to be famous, and they're using music as like the tool to be famous, and they see
Right.
it as like the vehicle to get famous. I think that's where they're going to fail. Like,
Right.
and you kind of have to like,
not necessarily talking about failing, right? The reality, right? You're supposed to teach people the reality of the
Yeah.
music business to a certain degree.
Their
That's
expect-
like one of my
yeah.
jobs, right? Is to go to a 17-year-old girl or a 17-year-old boy and be like, hey, you be a snake, you be a stripper. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or not even saying like that. You may have to be a snake, you may have to be a stripper. Like,
yeah.
that's like seems like it's so as a like having a daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, well,
That's so-
I think it's you have to be fucking. Well, first off, these fucking kids that are coming in here, 17 years old. I want to be famous. Like, there's so much shit that's been swept under the rug for all these famous people that come up. Like, they don't realize what sacrifices have to be made to become famous.
Yeah.
Unless you have, like you said, money or
Right.
you know whatever. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna make a good song and it's gonna, the right person's gonna see me and I'm gonna be famous. Like,
I think it never works out the right way if you're like, again, if you have the mindset of like, I'm going to be famous. You got to have like the mentality to be like, I'm going to work towards this goal, and the product of it might be fame, but I'm okay with it not being fame. That's kind of where you got to set those people up
and
for it.
like for me, I don't want fame. I rather have money than fame.
Same.
You know what I mean? I
I
rather
feel like
like
everybody in this room would.
I know, but there's some people that are like
Yeah.
totally
Hence
opposite.
the handsome money.
Yeah.
Yeah, handsome money.
Shout out to Handsome Money label.
I think I've told you guys I've been doing this like producer kind of business course through Dark Label. Super interesting. It's like really had to push me out of my comfort zone, like because for the past at least 10 years I really have not had to hunt down artists, right? It's either they came to the factory and
They come to you.
yeah. Yeah, but it's time to outreach a little bit beyond Fairfield County, right? You know, so one of the things that they have me doing is doing outreach, which is like they said it to be like outreaching to 25, I believe, artists a week through liking their page, following their page, DMing them, and trying to start a meaningful conversation. It like starts with a meaningful conversation, right? So, but first, obviously, you have to find these artists. So they kind of set you up with like, okay, these are the types of artists that you might be want to outreach to
For
And-
your catalog specifically, or how does that work?
Well, more to set up like a new client base, let's say like that, right?
But
So-
but based on genres that your catalog is missing, or just in general?
No, not necessarily genres
Okay,
that you're no, actually more based off of what you describe as an ideal artist,
Okay.
let's say.
Okay.
But it's to me has become super overwhelming and like almost depressing to a certain point, because when I go to the outreach portion, or when I basically made a playlist of outreach, so all the different artists I'm reaching out to. There are so many good artists and so many good producers like sliding through the cracks, and it makes it hard for me almost to reach out to them, because it's like I already like what they're doing. It's like I don't if I don't feel like I have something to offer. Like today I was in a session and I felt like I had a lot to offer to the session. Your project, I felt like I had a lot to offer.
You had a lot to save.
Okay. Well, yeah, that we'll get to the next part of this. But it's hard. Like there's so much good music out there, so much good talent, so much good. Like how do you cut through? It's like almost like, oh my God, like what do I have to offer the world at this point? Because there's so many good people making music, and they're making, all different types of it. There's part of me that goes, oh, I want to do this, and there's another part of me that goes, I want to just burn it all and do like the throw caution to the wind and do the Rick Rubin approach, which is like I'm making music for
Yourself.
God. Well, God.
Yeah.
You're making an offering.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just like it gets a little bit tricky, like
I fuck with Rick Rubin. He's been coming up on my reels lately.
yeah.
And he's just like, don't make music. Don't make music for the audience.
he looks
Make
like a
music for
guru
yourself.
now.
Well, it's because he fucking is, bro.
Yeah, he is a good
Yeah.
Dude knows what's up, dude. If you could get paid that much money to sit on a fucking couch and tell somebody, yeah, that's a vibe, I would fucking do it. You kidding me? And you're in Malibu or Costa Rica or wherever the fuck.
Yeah,
I'm
but he
fucking there.
says things that I feel like I want to hear
From Kenny.
Basically,
That was good.
Thank you.
yeah, no, but I don't think that's a bad approach. I think that artists, and I can say this like so concretely because I freaking work with artists all day long in terms of the singer-songwriter phase of we're finishing your songs, right? Artists are such vulnerable creatures. We are such empaths. And having someone like that to be able to hold space for when you are throwing stuff out there that's a part of you, that you're like, is this okay? Like, and it's like you feel like you're being judged, even though it's not you, but it is. It's a part of.
He can afford to do this style, or can have this approach because of the way he set up his studio and everything. He can be like,
Well, he set up his whole career.
his whole
Yeah,
career
his
has
whole
been, his whole career is built on this. He did do the thing of like kind of what you're doing in the beginning with like the Beastie Boys and stuff, where it was like,
Well, I mean, back
I'm
when he
gonna-
was in his
in
college
his dorm,
dorm.
and he's sending out the CDs. He's the guy who's like mixing the records. He's now worked his way where he's not mixing the records anymore. He's just the producer. Where he can come in and be like, I like this idea. What if we did this or did this? I'm going to sit here for a little bit. I'm going to give you a couple ideas, and then he's gone. Like he's like 9. Like I think he goes in at like 1 p.m. His might be there for a couple hours, leaves, comes back the next day, and it's brand new for him. And then he can give his thoughts on that next thing.
That's
Because
awesome.
He's like he's going to let the artist kind of go and do their thing for as long as they need to, and it might change.
But someone else is mixing it, you're saying.
Someone else is mixing it. Someone else is engineering it. He's just giving his
Arranging
opinion.
it.
Yeah, he's giving his opinion on what
That's wild.
he thinks, and then he leaves, and then he comes back and can be like, this is better, or what if we try this again? Like that's his whole job.
Yeah.
And people appreciate that because that's like he's able to bring something else. He's removed from the project while also being in the project.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You
he's
know?
confident in his taste.
Yeah, and that's what he's, and people are confident in him with his taste because of all the stuff he's done at this point. That
Yeah.
you know,
credibility.
His book is really good. So
Is that the
on,
one
you
you were
know.
telling me about?
yeah, you should read it. It's
Oh,
really good.
shit. That, okay.
Guzman just finished
Guzman.
it. Guzman, hop on here. Give your opinion.
Yeah. I want to know, Guzman. Can I borrow
He
it?
literally just finished it when we were talking about it.
I hate Ben. Ben is the worst. Don't even listen to anything he says. He's a phony. He forgot about the name of the book that he was been talking about for the last 3 months.
Such a
He sucks.
fake. He's fake, right?
I got it out of my chest now.
Okay, good.
Feeling better?
Oh, that was it. Okay. What is the name of the book for people listening?
It's called The Creative Act: A Way of Being, and it's like philosophy
And it's
kind of
probably
book.
it's not just for musicians from the way I understand it.
It's
Yeah.
basically for creatives, and it gives kind of like
That's cool.
different perspectives on doing creative things.
Yeah, so let's get to the part of the interview where everyone wants to know. How privileged did you feel to work with me on your
I was like, "Where's this going?"
Oh,
on your
man.
Oh my
last
God.
record? How Oh, she's reaching into her pocket.
She's got a gun. She's got a gun.
So privileged, you don't have to work with anybody else. JFK style.
Oh, man.
Oh, but for real, I'm not.
Let's
Really though, it was amazing, right?
Did you have fun? Did you feel
He needs that content. He needs that content for the
Let's
future.
put this up on the.
testimonial?
Dark Label told me to do this. Sent out to outreach.
No. I do want to sing your praises for a little bit.
We don't have to. I didn't really want that.
Okay, but all right,
But really.
but sit in it. Are you like me, where it's really hard to like sit through a compliment?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I feel like a lot of.
should I not go into this?
I'm just not like used to having attention on me. I'm a bass player. I play in the background. That's like kind of I'm a producer, bass player. Like I'm not a singer. I'm not up front. I don't want to be like up
Yeah.
front like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. You don't have to talk about me.
Okay,
But you can talk about your record.
Yeah, that's what we're
Evan
here for.
Murphy was on your record.
Evan
Ben
Murphy
engineered
was on
some of
my
your
record.
record. Guzman filmed.
And then deleted.
And then
Yeah, that song's actually not coming out. That's why I brought you on here.
But
surprise.
the four of us, we all songwrite. How do you songwrite? What do you do?
How do you songwrite?
Is it? I want to know everything. Is it lyrics
a weird way of
first? Is it
asking.
melody first? Are you on the piano? Are you at the guitar? What are you doing? Where are you? Are you in your bedroom? Like, where do you write music? I could tell you exactly what I do.
He stares out the window, contemplates jumping.
No. But like, what's your songwriting process?
So I would say for me, melody tends to be more important first off. But I think a lot of singer-songwriters do this where I have chords that I'm strumming or playing and I'm sort of like throwing out gibberish like sort of saying words that aren't really words to get the melody right. And then what I used to do was try to fit words to those exact vowel shapes, which is really not cool because then you're locked into that weird ass chanting you've been doing. But along the way, I've sort of, I think, found my ground in just letting the words come out. And honestly, here's the crazy part. When I write something, I sit down and I write something that's like, I'm going through something, and this is 100% my therapy. It always has been. The lyrics tend to end up reflecting what I'm going through subconsciously.
Do you write a lot of like songs that are like I?
That definitely, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is very autobiographical. I will call myself out that I need to do more exercises on just narration and like diving into that. But yeah, no, and that dovetails with the fact that it is very much a therapeutic exercise for me. And then I go back and I edit, I'll edit lyrics, or I'll go back and I'll mess around with form and maybe the melody and the chorus could be stronger. But I don't know, there's so many ways to go about it that I think there is this strong difference for me though between something like Writing to Home, where I sat down and started playing chords and what I was going through just came out. Maybe a lyric or two changed later on to make sense, versus something like I Want Your Hands, which was me going back and forth between these two chords, coming up with this melody that I really dug, and then adding like lyrics that sort of made sense. Yeah, and I normally write sitting down, to answer your question.
Me too. No, but you know what I mean, like in the library, in the outside.
In the library.
Like in my little studio.
Fuck you writing a song in the library. Find me a person who writes a song in a library. I want to talk to them.
But you know what I have been doing more as I've gotten more experience has been like, I'll be in my car and I hear something and I do it on my voice memo and then I'll come back to it,
Yep.
So
I hear it.
Respect.
The shower.
What about you? The shower?
I don't know. It's whenever I feel like it.
Whenever I feel like it.
I don't know. I'm not like, it's not an everyday thing for me. It's kind of like, usually the morning time is the best time. It's like right when I wake up, I feel like I got something.
do you feel like it's, because I'm very much like the singer-songwriter where it's like the lyrics and the melody, I'm emotional as fuck. But like, do you feel like for you it's not really that process?
No, it's usually like, I'll make a lot of music and then it could be something where I'm like, I could be making it and I'm like, this is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I know it like right away.
So is it the melody that the singer's going to sing, or is it the chords, like a guitar riff?
Usually it's just like a bunch of whatever comes in the moment. Like I usually do like 30 seconds of music is like what I make. I'll do 30 seconds and that's about as far as I'll get. And then I might come back to that a week later, 3 weeks later. I got something for this now, or I don't got anything. It really just depends. It's usually just like, oh, this is cool. This is cool. Like right now I've been writing a lot of stuff to like drum loops and then being like, okay, this is a loop and here's the bass part and here's a guitar part. Yeah. But I'll usually like sing a guitar part and be like, okay, that's the part. But
that's how the one fast song on my record came to be, was because everything is so slow because I'm depressed and I have to tell every fucking person about it. And I was like, I need to get a drum loop up in here. Like it's not okay. And then I found this sort of funk beat.
And then that's the thing I recommend for singer-songwriters out there is if you are not going that like troubadour kind of approach, like where you're like kind of singer-songwriter, if
guitar or piano, and
get the drum or get some type of rhythm underneath you as quick as possible.
Do you, in terms of your band, do you bring that baby idea to your band and let them develop it?
Sometimes, or me and Kenny will just work on the whole thing and then finish it and then be like, this is a song.
Well, baby idea, you're meaning the 30-second
clip.
Like,
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And like, there are times where like, if it doesn't get any like feedback or like somebody's not like, oh, this is cool, then it doesn't get worked on. And then it might be like someone else has an idea, but it really depends. We've been doing a lot of stuff that way though, where somebody will have like 30 seconds of something and we'll record like, someone will have something over that 30 seconds or whatever. And then it'll be like, this could be a song or not. But we have been like writing songs in a way where like it's half a song and then we're done. That's the song for right now. Cause we're like, we want to save it for the studio kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm very much craving a band again, because I hate doing it by myself. The creation, like I think that I do because I want to be in the driver's seat, but I don't. And that was something that was so freeing about, circling back to Kenny Cash. Like that was something that was so freeing about bringing all my tracks to Kenny, which was like, take this. Like, please, dear God, like take this
It's nice
and
being
do
able to
something with
hand
it.
off something. If you get it to the point where it's like, this is the idea, this is what I
Right.
want, like this is the mood of it.
Right.
If I just want you to understand it, and if they could understand what you're trying to deliver,
Yeah.
just give it to them.
It's
like,
a nice feeling. Like, I don't think you can do this by yourself. And if you can, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can, where you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's sick. Like, do that. Like, you can't do that by yourself. Like, you don't get that feeling where you're like bouncing stuff off another person and you can feel everybody get like excited about something.
Right.
Super interesting too. I have a question for you
Yeah.
because, I think I know kind of your answer. Like, you are very much at this point, unless maybe Miles makes a change or whatever, right? You want to be working with live instruments for the most part through the records.
Yeah, I don't
right?
want
Right.
anything to be looped.
Right. When we're working, we're possibly it could be hybrid, right? Well, yeah. There's no programming.
Yeah,
really.
no, not at all.
programming is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Your records, you seem to be very intentionally right now, unless I'm wrong, running or not running in a bad way, but like running away from the concept of programming. It seems like you want to have live instruments in your music, and I'm not talking about just live instruments, but like a live band almost. It seems like that's what you, as an artist, want to be part of your sound. Because we were talking about Amy Winehouse the other day, right? And how she didn't like that first record because there was synth strings on it or something like that. The original producer had done.
Yeah.
And she was like offended.
wow.
Like deeply offended. In her like documentary, she talks about it. Like she will never use that.
When was
producer
this
again.
though?
Definitely wasn't Mark Ronson then.
No, it wasn't Mark Ronson or was it Remy? Was it Remy Slum? Is the other producer?
I don't think it was him. Yeah.
Yeah.
it wasn't.
It's
Yeah.
definitely Mark Ronson's she.
Yeah, no, it was not either. Well, she used that. Was it Baptones or whatever?
Yeah.
as the band
I know
or
that
something like that.
Mark Ronson had like the Black album or Back to
Yeah,
Black.
yeah,
he
Back
did
to
that
Black.
one,
Yeah, but I think the band, there was an actual band that he kind of enlisted for that. Essentially, I thought it was like Sharon Jones' band. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But I for some reason have this vague memory of that.
Yeah.
But she was like offended that there
Right.
were synth strings on the first record,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even though it garnered some praise and stuff like
That's
that.
interesting though. Like did she not be like, I don't want that on my record? Take it off.
She probably was, but she didn't have the power of as an artist at that point, and the producer kind of took control, right?
Yeah.
Which happens
Yeah, oh,
sometimes.
yeah,
and
yeah.
sometimes might be necessary to happen. Like honestly, like if the song called for some type of string part and there was no budget for the string part, you know what I mean? Maybe it's just like, hey,
Right.
grow up, you know what I mean? But also, so just curiosity wise, like, because you seem very much into that. Is that something that you feel like is part of your sound or a necessity? A necessity for
I
you?
wonder if Amy had the sort of same thought process that I did, which was subconscious. That like I came from a jazz background, so for me it was just like, yeah, like let's get a drummer and a bassist and a guitar, to like
Well, like I
track.
showed you Portishead the other day, right? That is a loop of, and there's loops underneath that stuff mixed in with like kind of breakbeaty type loops and stuff like that. But yeah, is that something like, for instance, you're anti?
No, I'm
Okay.
not. I'm not anti. No, I think that a lot of the artists that I'm inspired by, which is probably the R&B, some neo soul,
The
some.
Strokes, right?
Heavy strokes, man.
Shit.
I think that they're using all of it, and I think that if I had come to you first and we had started from the ground up, yeah, there probably would be more program shit in there.
Yeah.
Oh, not necessarily. There would be more program shit.
Probably.
Who knows though? But
Maybe
like,
for like
No,
I want your
no.
hands. I don't know.
No, not necessarily at all. If you said you wanted a band, I would have.
Get a band.
Right? Yeah, I would have definitely
Yeah.
strung a band together.
No,
I
we
just
would have
made
had
sure
a
that-
band,
I
but
feel like the next thing you do is probably going to be you'll be able to decide kind of like more now that you know like the whole process.
yeah, 100%.
Like just being like, I want this or this, and kind of you could throw ideas from the ground up. Like
Yeah.
start with
There's also a language that you probably have more of now, right?
yeah,
Oh my God. I think about, I mean, how long have I been at Factory?
8 months.
Something like that, maybe.
I think about when I first met all of you and when I first just came here, like how little I knew about the recording process, and
I know
like
nothing about the.
He's been here for 6 years. He doesn't know shit. Guy sits
No,
in the
but,
back
like-
That's gonna be. I'm gonna.
He's engineering the podcast.
Yeah. Deleted it the first time.
But it's, I mean, I handed over I Want Your Hands to You, and like, what was it? Probably a collection of 6 tracks, excluding background vocals. It was not that many instruments, right?
No.
Drums, bass, guitar. Let's say there were 2 guitars, vocals.
Something like
I put
that,
some
yeah.
I put some synth on it, and then you took it and did a lot to it. We had Evan come in.
Yep.
But did you play the whirly? Yeah, Evan played the whirly. I think you retracked bass.
Retract bass a couple of times.
What else did you do? I would love to know. Like,
Tom played some guitar parts.
right.
Retract bass twice. Retract bass with a synth, then retract it, or with a Moog. Then retract it with a live bass. We added snaps.
Those are fun.
Yep, that was nice, right? We added snaps, and a couple of other things of that nature. Yeah, that was pretty much it. But I remember what the tricky part about the track was. It was just like the pocket of it was not like solidified. There was not the sexiness of it was not there, right? Right.
So you brought the sexiness.
I brought sexy back.
You brought sexy
Basically,
back.
is what happened. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. But you definitely added more live instruments, it seems like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was live instruments there. The problem is that they were not directed or produced the correct way. No one kind of like said, "Hey, this needs to have a certain type of feel." Like musicians, especially schooled, I'm assuming learned musicians, kind of just start thinking like very much in their. This is what the drum is supposed to do, not like this is what the song is supposed to do.
They kind of think about their parts only and
Right.
not how it's going to service the song.
Right. Yep.
That's such an important distinction. And that's what I mean by like, I wasn't thinking that way when I first came here. It's so different, like the producer's way of looking at a song versus a singer songwriter. I'm like, okay, what is the message? What is the lyrical theme of the song? How
Yeah.
does the melody serve that?
Yeah.
Like, are we getting bored after this many measures, this and that? It's
Yeah.
such a different language.
You can get kind of blinded by your own shit too, like with songs, like making them. You're like, this is so great. And then you have someone else come in and be like, hey, you're not serving the song the right way.
Yeah, or the other way around
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
This is so bad.
Yeah.
I've had so many of those times, even like making beats earlier on, was like I hated a beat and that would be like someone's like favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Like you said before, I know like right away, I'll just be like, I'm done with this shit.
What does your demo consist of? Is it, because mine's very like I'm playing live and singing live. Are you're saying you're in the DAW?
I'm,
Yeah, you're in Logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
He's
in
like, what's a
Logic.
DAW?
I'm in Logic. Yeah, I'm just trying to.
You just rocked the whole world. You really did.
No, I'm at my house. All right? I'm at my house. I'm on my desk. I do half a song. It's like just like a verse, an intro, verse, chorus usually. And then from there, if I'm not feeling it, I'll just save it for later.
So you're
I'm
like
sorry, I'm not thinking about it.
you're like a voice memo. That's what you're talking about, right? Like you make a voice memo.
Yeah, I'll mostly make a voice memo.
Yeah, no, he'll probably take either. You start with a beat at this point,
Yes,
a drum pack. So he'll get like he purchases drum packs,
Drum
right?
packs. Yeah.
Okay.
Lays out the drum pack. Probably, I'm gonna guess because I've
Take a crazy guess.
Yeah, I'm taking a crazy guess.
Plays the
There's a synth lot part that comes through, right?
Yeah.
First,
Got
yeah.
it. Yep, and then maybe
in the key of C.
Yeah, key of C or D minor.
God bless.
It's either a
Major.
synth or a bass, like a bass,
Yeah.
synth bass.
Yeah.
That'll do first.
Right.
And then I just build it from there.
Yeah, and then he'll sing something with like one of the presets on Logic, which is nice.
Okay.
Just enough where I can get my idea, so whoever was listening to it can understand what the vibe of it is, what I'm trying to go for, and then if it's in a position where I'm like, okay, this is all I can do. Like you said, I need to pass this off. Like I
Right.
can pass it off, knowing like I got at least what I want you to hear.
Yeah.
You have that.
And you're making fun of yourself, but that's a very, I think, progressive way of doing it. Because like all of my students are probably doing what I'm doing, which is a voice memo. That doesn't give Kenny a lot of information.
No.
Just like setting him the chords and what the voice is doing.
Yeah, one of the.
I mean, I think it leads for more like leeway. I mean,
it depends
because you do that and you might be stuck to that. Versus your thing where it's just your voice and some chords. You can do whatever you want after that point.
But the good thing is I do it not fighting your like. Good for you. I'm just saying I do everything in MIDI for that reason. Where if I send it to him and he's like, "This is not the right chord," he could just highlight it and move it down a half or whatever. You know.
But if it's a demo, it's
it's different people. So like his thing, he's very like open like to changing lyrics and stuff like that. Some artists you can tell are going to be less that way, right? Like changing lyrics. Some artists are going to be when they give you a demo. They're not going to want it. They're almost going to want you to like remake the demo.
Yeah.
Right. It really depends from.
I'm just talking about if like she came to you and brought the voicemail of her playing piano and her vocal, you have so much more room to do the thing together. Being like, what if we did this, or like, is this the vibe you're going for? Whereas like you're kind of setting the vibe already, but when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might change, but it's still going to be from that thing that you started.
Yes.
Versus
and
just
the vibe and the vibe and the lyrics.
Yeah.
They have to have some sort of like.
But you're creating that already versus, you're just kind of, you're writing the song.
Yeah. The tricky part I feel like becomes because I've had this happen a couple of times where people are like, all right, we're going to do a record and we're just going to play it with acoustic guitar or piano and sing, and you're just going to put some loops under it. And I get really annoyed by that concept because I'm like, it does not work that way. If you put the rhythm first and then put a guitar on top of it and sing to it, it works a lot better than if like it's like the piano's doing like bloom bloom, like you're like that. I don't know, there's no rhythm to that, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like if you're gonna tear the thing down possibly anyway and rebuild it, right? It's all gonna be about the willingness of the artist to do that, right? How far can you go with that? And that's
hard to start. Like I was going to ask this question, actually. I was thinking about this because like your first time ever having to do that with somebody, that must have been like, there's like a learning curve where like some people don't understand how long music takes, or like the idea of making something together, where it might be like, it's hard to be like, I'm going to do this for like 20 minutes and you're just going to watch me do this for 20 minutes.
Well,
it's hard every time. Today with Elaine, even with with Elaine, like I didn't know what I could change on it when I first started working with Elaine. I didn't know how she was going to react. She doesn't know me from.
That's what I was going to say. Every time you have a new client, that's like something that you don't realize, or people don't realize. As a producer, you have to gauge these people,
right?
And
It's a relationship.
If they're open to changes.
Again,
it's hard.
Well, you might be thrown into a situation where it's like the music is being made today,
Right.
and you got to figure out that conversation while it's happening,
Yeah.
which is a lot harder.
Is extremely hard. Even today, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We know the artists that we're working with. I've worked, like
And before,
not on a producer level, but like helping an engineer and get sounds and stuff like that. How receptive are? It was 5 of them, right? Today,
Yeah, 5 or 6.
5. How receptive are they going to be to some of the changes that I'm going to make? How like what type of kid gloves do I have to wear versus how hard do I have to push? How much do I have to have my chest out?
are they going to even know what you're talking about when you say these things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Like we just had a client, right? And that was a tough client. Like in my opinion, it was a nice daughter and a mom. But like that first couple of sessions with them, like breaking through, like I find that's actually even harder though.
Smaller kid or mother-daughter?
Yeah, mother-daughter combo, some sort of combo is always like a little bit trickier.
Yeah. You're definitely testing like the temperature.
Yeah.
I was going to say something to you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like as we built our relationship, then the music, it becomes easier. Like when we first started working together, it's funny, your thought process was the same thought process as mine. I was like, I'm hands off. I'm going to let this guy do whatever the fuck he wants. And I'll step in and say something if I really don't like it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I was so aware of like, I don't know how to take this to here. So for me, it was like I was hands off. Whereas when we got more into writing to home, that was for I Want Your Hands. When we got into writing to home, I was like super open with you and with Guzman when we were filming that video. Cause I was like, this is a super emotional video, probably going to cry. Y'all are going to get to know me a little bit better. And because we had that open dialogue, there was a moment where I started to tear up in the middle of the shoe, and Kenny came out and he was able to be like, all right, take it.
Wipe those tears.
No, in all seriousness,
Use my shirt.
I know I have to make it all like gooey and feelings. I don't give a shit. Like Kenny had to come out and be like, Elaine, take a deep breath.
Suck it up.
No, it was the opposite.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
No,
Yeah.
but this is the Rick Rubin shit. Like close your eyes, think about the tempo. Think about what you wrote the song about. Like basically it wasn't like a get your shit together. It was like, you got this. Like you're ready.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the next take that we got it.
Yeah.
Because someone had sort of reached me in that way. And that is a huge part of what this job is.
Yeah.
Like,
I think for
My
stuff.
poor wife gets to get your shit together
Yeah.
as a producer. My poor wife. I'm like, no.
Yeah, I
you
think
should know better by now.
She gets the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst producer version.
God bless her. Yeah.
It's like I can't. I
fucking had enough of this.
That lyric has got to go. It's horrible. Poor wife. Sorry,
I think
Laura.
there's like two versions of producing
trooper.
too. I think for stuff to be really good and like there be an open dialogue, you kind of have to be like friends or a little bit close or have like a dialogue where you're like cool with each other.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you're never going to build that relationship with somebody who's there for 4 hours, 2
Yeah.
hours, 3 hours.
Of course.
And they come back every 3 months. It's
Yeah.
just never going to work. It's not going to be good. Like that's
Yeah.
my opinion on it. Like,
Funny. Think about but when our first kind of session together was like
I mean, yeah.
I was playing bass, right?
You saw us play, and then you were like, all right, well, maybe we could do something with what you guys recorded. And then you were like, okay, and we listened to it together. I remember you being like, this ain't gonna work.
For context, we had a bass player, and it was just we tracked here, and it was just not working.
And
out.
it was actually
was
Tom,
one of- it was-
Tom and Billy were both
Yeah,
interns
yeah,
at the time.
yeah. Tom and Billy weren't like the engineers they are today. It was like they were still like learning. So like I was like, I have $800. I want to record, and they're like, oh, Ben wants to record. Okay, cool.
like, "Okay, Ben."
Yeah, Tom and Billy are gonna run the session, and it's gonna be. It
And
is what it is.
I didn't even talk to me at that point. I both Julia, probably, and you and Ben, were all like never really. Ben was interning here, but he really didn't talk to
I
me.
never saw Kenny. Kenny
Yeah, I
wore a
didn't know.
hood.
I wore a hoodie and
He wore a hoodie and didn't like.
yeah,
he was just
locked in the control room.
in and out. Yeah.
Side note, I think one of the first things I said to Ben, like after Ben and I were becoming friends, I was like, yo, does Kenny speak?
Yeah, 'cause-
yeah.
yeah.
It was like-
I used to not speak.
He really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
I didn't talk
yeah.
at all.
Well, you were pretty shy when we first met, and then I don't know, started talking about Taylor Swift, and you started coming right out of your shell.
You know, same thing. It was like, okay, can I do this? Can I? Is this bass player part okay? Is this part okay? We'll do it a couple more times. And then
Right.
boom, boom, boom. You know.
Yeah.
And then after a
Yeah.
while, you get that relationship where you just
Yeah.
can talk, right? And you
Yeah.
can kind of communicate.
so important.
Yeah, and I went to. I think going to school helped a lot too, because then by the time we got to like 2020, when we were doing the stuff over Zoom, I kind of knew all the stuff to kind of say and get stuff how I liked it, kind of thing. Versus
Right.
before, where it's just like that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kenny, would you say that as a producer, there is a obvious difference between someone you work with who's been in music school versus someone who hasn't? Or someone maybe that's just been in the industry versus someone who hasn't?
Sometimes it's definitely case by case, but yeah, like knowledge can be dangerous. Like people think they know, and honestly, one of the things, like the least things I like working with, I've worked with some artists that have accomplished some pretty big things, but they're on like this trajectory of their career.
Okay.
That's like one of my least favorite artists to work with.
Why?
Because they do know so much, and you can't discredit what they've done, you know,
Right.
or know. But at the same time, you know that they need something possibly different, and it's like, you know, who am I to make that? You know,
Right.
when they've attained like such a higher level than me. You know what I mean? So it's
So is that like one of those moments where you're just like shut up and you just okay, like
well, a lot of those times in those cases, I wasn't necessarily producer. There was one time maybe where I was listed as producer, and I really did not want to release the record, even though it got released. I really, really was kind of against it. I still get like kind of,
upset talking about it.
well, not upset, just like, it's like how we were talking about that ratio of like good stuff versus bad stuff out. Like, oh, that's fucking up my ratio.
Yeah.
It does help, and I always get very anxious about this when I'm not touching instruments. Like right now, I don't play as many instruments as I should be, right? Because I do know I always have that power with a learning musician that I can just all of a sudden be like playing chords that are like jazz chords
Right.
on multiple instruments, and it kind of just backs them up. Because, well, and it's also a little bit different. When I grew up, like, and I went to Berkeley, it was like, oh, you're being an engineer because you can't cut it as a musician. Like, that's not the case. Like, you know what I mean? Anymore, especially. Like, there's so many producers now that are musicians and things of that nature, and engineers that have played music that it's just a different situation, you know, a different time. But you do get some stuck up people that think they know
Everything.
and, yeah.
Yeah.
And usually they're coming from some sort of music school.
Yeah, because I see it with like clients that there's almost like an insecurity that they don't know any music theory. And I'm like, you don't need to. Like, it's like, I actually do think it's a very helpful tool, but that is not a sign of like musicianship and talent.
Yep.
Very excited about your stuff. It's coming out August 2nd.
Fourth.
Don't even know the release date. Get out of here.
I have a broker's test on the 2nd. That's fine. We'll try
Say
it again. Ready?
it louder for people in the
Hold
back.
Ready? We'll give it a second. Very excited about your music coming out on August 4th.
Thank you.
Any final words? Anything that you want the listeners to know?
Ben's gonna make fun of me right now, but so yeah, thank you. It actually has been an honor to work with Kenny and be at Factory. Like, I do see, I can't
Turn them down.
Yeah,
It's you and me. It's you
turn
and
their
I.
game down because they're fucking ruining it, and I'm breaking the fourth wall because I'm surrounded by boys, except for Evan. Evan has my
I'm not a
back.
boy.
Boys.
I'm a man.
Talk to me.
Talk to me.
Real talk.
Real talk.
No, it's been a pleasure to work with Kenny at Factory.
And Ben.
And
Guzman.
and Ben and Guzman
And Evan.
and Evan, all of y'all. But Kenny, you produced my record.
Fair enough.
Come on.
True that.
I feel very seen and I feel very heard as an artist,
That's good.
and that's what it's about. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm really excited. I hope that people like it. Honestly, the only reason why I released this shit, I'd like to say like pat on my back for me. It's because I genuinely do hope that someone will connect. So if one person does, I'm happy.